honestly, we should give it up for him one more time. That was his first time. Also, we should give it up for me because I am the muse of that. I know you do all that. I'm just kidding, I wish. Okay, so my name is Kendall Roden, for those of you who don't know me. And how many of you do know me here? I just want to, thank you all so much for coming, everybody, but it just means a lot to have that support. But I'm just going to be talking to you all tonight about how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive others and how those perceptions can actually help us form perspectives about life and about finding meaning in life. Also, I do want to dedicate this to Don Juan, a starfish that I met this summer in Costa Rica, who unfortunately has passed away. It's a sad story, but if you want to see eulogy, I will perform it later. So, going on the Instagram theme, I decided to kind of put the pieces of my story up here in images because I feel like that really helps you experience with me some of the people that have really, I meant to do that. No, but all of these people in these pictures have really helped me to form what I'm talking about tonight. So probably throughout the past 3 years of college, but even more than that, probably primarily most of my life, one of the biggest things I've struggled with is really trying to identify who I am as a person. So I think that's a really interesting topic when someone says, hey, who are you? Like, who is Kendall Roden? It would be really easy for me to say, well, oh, Kendall Roden, she was on Capstone Men and Women. She walks backwards and gives tours. And, oh, Kendall, I met her at the bar. She's an Alpha Chi. She's pretty cool. Or, oh, Kendall's on Business Honors. Or she's on Academic Honor Council. She was the campus outreach director. And I don't say all these things to dote my resume, which I am proud of, but it's about more than that. It's about all of these pieces of who I am and all of these things I'm involved in. How do you take all the different perceptions that people have of you, all these experiences that they've had with you, and piece that into who you actually are? When you have such broad interests, when you're so involved in so many different things with so many different people, how does it all come together? How do you decide who you ultimately are? Is it one of those pieces? Is it all of them? Or is it something deeper than that? So what is depicted below? Can I have just one person maybe raise their hand and tell me what they think these images are? Is anyone feeling strong enough to volunteer? Chris, do you want to tell me what you think these images are?
I have no idea.
No idea what they are. Wow, that's first. Anybody else? Does anyone have a general idea of what these images are? Yeah, in the back?
Looks like a circle and a square.
Okay. Does anyone, okay, so who else thinks that these images look like a circle and a square? So generally, most of the population. Okay, who thinks that is not? Okay, we have one hand, that's great. Anybody else? Who thinks this is not a circle and a square? Okay, so we have a couple people. I like y'all, independent thinkers. Okay, so I really want to talk about this concept right now. So most of us in the room make the assumption that, except for Chris, he has no idea. That's a first. I think we always have an idea for what's going on. But we think that this image is a circle and a square, but we obviously know that it isn't. It isn't a circle and a square. We've been taught what a circle and what a square looks like our entire lives. Those are closed figures. They have sides, they're all conjoined. There's none of these gaps. Like, what are those? Why are they here? But what's really interesting is not why they're there, but why we as humans are able to perceive that they're not. And so that's what we're going to dive into a little bit. So this is actually an example of the law of closure. So this is actually a theory in Gestalt psychology, and it's basically saying that the whole of an object is more than just the sum of all of the pieces of what it is. And I think what's really interesting is, like I said, it's our brain's tendency to make a very quick judgment using what we know to make an assumption about these objects, regardless of the fact we know that there's pieces missing, completely missing, they're gone. Where are they? So I think that's really interesting. So how did you know generally that these objects were a circle and a square? Like I said, your knowledge probably throughout middle school, high school, elementary school, you've been told what shapes are. You know what a spoon looks like. You know what a fork is. The sport grew and everything. I mean, that's so confusing. Like, so not mainstream. But it's true. We've been told our whole lives what a circle and a square look like. And a lot of this is because each of us has a perceptual set. We have a set of things in our mind that help us to make sense of the chaos in the world around us. It's how we make order. It's how we make sense of something. And we need that. It's an innate thing. We want things to make sense. But what's really interesting is that our perceptual sets, they're not just the way that we view images. They're the way that we view people. It's the way that we view our scenery, our surroundings. It's the way that we have perspectives on things in life. And it can be affected by a ton of different factors. Your emotions, your motivations, your attitudes. So how many times in your life have you made a judgment about someone based on something you learned when you were younger or that you've always believed? Like, how many people have done that? Made a judgment based on a preconceived notion. Okay, so I think we're all pretty honest. I appreciate it. So why? Why do we look to make these objects close when they're not? And I think that's a really good question to ask about life. Why do we always seek to make sense of everything? We see a pattern and we take hold of it and we follow that pattern through. And if that pattern is something we learned when we were young, we're even more likely to do that. So it really interests me. Our constant need to make sense of everything can sometimes stifle us when we view other people and when we view ourselves. So has anyone had any point in their lives when there was a conflict, an inner struggle of who am I? Anybody? Maybe? Okay, I remember growing up, I used to think about that all of the time. And I used to wonder, how come this person sees me this way, and this person's so quick to tell me I'm this way? And what's really interesting is we do the same thing to ourselves. We seek closure for ourselves because we don't want to go through the process of what it looks like to actually find closure. So within closure, there's usually two tendencies. There's urgency and there's permanence. So we want to find closure quickly, we want to understand things as fast as possible, and then once we make that assumption, most likely it's going to be very permanent. It's going to be very difficult to change that. And what's so faltering about that is that we're not leaving ourselves room to know that we're capable of change, that we're capable of adaptation, that there's areas of other people's lives and of our own that we don't understand yet. They're missing, they're not there. We're constantly growing, we're constantly evolving as people, and so to close ourselves off, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing a disservice to others. So I'm going to talk about a personal experience. I'm going to get out of the way so my face doesn't look like an image. Is that better? Okay. So I'm going to talk about a personal experience that really helped me put in perspective some of the preconceived notions that I had and how that changed my entire perspective once they were broken. So this summer I had the awesome opportunity, thanks again to Reed for doing that introduction. It's truly meaningful. We had the opportunity to go to Costa Rica through Outward Bound and through the UA Honors College. I see a lot of people on that trip in this room tonight, and I honestly can't even express what an amazing experience it was and how much all of it impacted my ability to see life in a different way. But one of the coolest things that we did is we had an opportunity to go to a place called San Ponsac. So this location is basically a leatherback sea turtle conservatory. So you have volunteers and you also have governmental employees that are there, and their job is every single night to walk about 8 to 10 miles up and down the beach from about 7 p.m. to about 5 a.m. to look for sea turtles that are laying their eggs, to then harvest those eggs and take them to a protected location. And so there's so many people that are trying to take these eggs, that are trying to poach them, sell them. It's actually illegal. It's an endangered species. So what a cool opportunity. I could never expect that I would have that. But right here is actually a picture of me and one of our guides named Pedro. And so I got the 9 to 1 shift, super fun, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. It's really, really hot. It's also raining. We have to wear all black, no bug spray. I had 200 bug bites at that point, so it was wouldn't have helped anyways. And we're walking up and down this beach hoping that we're gonna see this sea turtle. And we were probably 7 miles in, so we only had about 2 miles back to camp, and we realized it just wasn't gonna happen. We weren't gonna see a sea turtle that night. So me and Pedro start talking, and I can only speak Italian and a little bit of Spanish, and he can only speak Spanish. So me trying to, it was so funny, I swear, some of the words, I swore they were Spanish, but I know they were Italian. It just wasn't happening. But it was so cool, and to this day, I don't know if I actually understood anything that he said. But there was one, no, I'm serious, I made all this up, but at least I took away from it what I needed. No, I'm serious. Like, I really don't know if that's what he said, but what I took away from it has literally impacted the way that I view myself and the way I view other people. And it's funny, I'm not very good at Spanish. So me and Pedro are talking, and we're talking about my family, and we're talking about his family, and he's talking about, this has been his career for 30 years, so literally he's done this every single night. And to me, like, my perception set just didn't even understand that. I didn't understand how he was here for 30 years doing this every single day, how he could be happy, like how he still felt fulfillment in that. To me, that wasn't what success looked like in my life. That's not what I've been told over and over and over again by everyone. But I'm talking to him and I said, are you happy? And he said, sí, siempre, and I know that means yes, always. But it was so incredible because I thought about all of these things that people see me as. I thought about all these organizations I'm involved with, and I thought, he is always happy. He always finds happiness, and I can't find that in my own life, and why? And it's because he found meaning in what he was doing. He knew what he was doing was for a greater purpose, and he found himself in that, and that's why he was happy. And it really impacted me, and I said, man, I want to learn Spanish, and I want to travel the world, and I want to do all these things, but that's not what I've been told my whole life. And he said, you know, if you want to do something, you should just do it. And he was like, if you want to learn something, and I know basic words, so I was able to at least, I think this is what he said. And he was like, but if you want to learn something, you should learn it, and if you want to change something about your life, you should change it. And such a simple concept like hit me so hard because I've always seen everything as a closed box. Like I didn't see room for those growth periods. I didn't see room to change the course that I was on because it was so structured. I had made it into something that it wasn't. And so that experience truly was so eye-opening. But I just want to let y'all know that that's what the sea turtle looks like. And that's obviously not me. You can't take cameras out there. It was very late. I just wanted to give the perspective that I didn't back see a sea turtle this big. But what was really cool is so we get done with that shift at 1 o'clock, and there's another shift about to leave. And obviously everyone on my shift had just walked like 8-10 miles, and they're like, I'm going to bed, it's hot, I'm taking a shower. By the way, the showers were buckets of water, it wasn't really a shower. But yeah, so everyone went to bed, and I was like, no, I have to see this sea turtle. I've already walked this far, I need to keep going. So I go out with the second group. So at this point, I'm literally exhausted. But within maybe 2 miles of the second walk, we walk up and we see this massive sea turtle. I mean, at least that big, if not bigger. And I have never seen a turtle that big in my life. I've never seen a more magnificent, I've never seen a creature that magnificent in my life. And it was because my whole life, I've only seen a turtle that could maybe fit in my hand, maybe a little bit bigger. I had never seen something like this. Can you all imagine if I let my expectations dictate to me going on that second walk what I would have missed out on? Because our expectations aren't always correct. And yes, it's important to have them, and yes, it's important to have preconceived notions. It's important to be able to make patterns fit, but sometimes they mislead us. So having this experience and seeing this turtle lay its eggs in the ground and dig them so deep reminded me of all the times in my own life that I have buried things so deeply, and people don't know that side of me, and I can't expect them to, but at the same time, we are more than what we see on the outside. If we just looked at the top of the sand, we would have no idea that there's 70 eggs under there that could hatch and become beautiful creatures, because we don't give people enough time before we make that judgment call. So how does this apply to all of us? Not just me, how does it apply to everyone? And that's something I'm still trying to figure out. I don't have life figured out, I can't say I have meaning figured out, but these are the sea turtles that have been harvested and picked up out of the sand, dug out, carried back by people, by volunteers like Pedro, so that they'll be safe and enclosed. And that's incredible because they're gonna hatch and they're gonna have an opportunity to survive. But do you see the enclosure that they're in? They're confined to stay safe. And in our lives when we're young, that's what we go through. We develop these perceptual sets when we're young, when we don't understand the whole world around us, when we haven't experienced what it feels like to fail, to be judged, to make a mistake in front of people and not know how to recover. And what's so incredible is 3 months from then, those eggs are going to hatch and those sea turtles are going to crawl into the ocean of wide possibility. And we have to believe that people are capable of all of those possibilities. We have to believe that people can leave what they once thought or become more than they are now. So I just really appreciate all of y'all being here, and I just hope that you'll take this into consideration when you perceive yourself and when you perceive others, that you don't have to be anything people tell you that you are. You can be whatever you want to be, and it doesn't all have to fit together, and it doesn't all have to make sense. So I love this. I don't have it memorized, so I'm going to read it off. But sometimes the point is to experience not knowing and confusion. What is born of your uncertainty is sometimes more important than not having been certain in the first place. So I just hope that all of y'all are able to navigate your uncertainty and really learn a lot more about yourself through it. So thank you so much.